Okay, hi and welcome to the first part of the build. You've seen the unboxing of the contents, and this is the engine test fitted in the frame. You can see there the badge on the side, Starfire Motorized Power, oddly showing an American flag for a Chinese built engine. And a couple of little modifications I've had to make. The front mount here I've had to file out a little bit just to fit around this, because it's a slightly thicker bar than obviously that was intended to fit. The rear one's a perfect fit, and I've also had to get some extended mounting lugs here. The original ones are that big, absolutely tiny, as you can see. All this is a couple of M6 bolts threaded in with a bit of thread lock, with the heads cut off and the ends filed down to accept the nuts. So that will bolt on nicely. There's a rubber strip there which is a bit old in a tube to act as a vibration dampener, and likewise one at the back. So the engine goes straight into the frame with the vibration dampeners and nipped up tight, and make sure that it's level. And regarding any filing, cutting work, just make sure that you block any ports. Spark plug in there, you've got a bit of tape over there, and likewise in the exhaust port so you don't get any swarfing. Okay, so I'll crack on with that. Okay, so we've got the engine mounted in the frame, as you can see there, and essentially what we've got here is, that's the loose mount at the back. This one's the most critical. You kind of got to make sure that there's no gap there, you've got it nice and even to make sure it's dead straight against the back of the frame. And so a little bit of jiggling around, but once you've got that, it's no problem. A bit of old inner tube around there, and then we've got the mounting bracket, which is bent shape already, a flat steel washer, a spring washer, and a locking nut, and nip that up so it's nice and tight. Exactly the same with the front. Oop. There we go, you can see that better. Exactly the same with the front, the only difference being that this is a fixed flange, and this one, as I say, I had to file a little bit off just to get that to fit flush around the frame there. Again, dampener made out of a bit of old inner tube. Singles can be prone to vibration, so you know, I'd rather do that now than have to take it all apart and do it afterwards. Again, I've got the modified extended bars there, which now I could trim those off. I might well do that later, I'm not worried about it at the moment. The other ones obviously being way too short, they came up here. But a bracket, flat steel washer, spring washer, locking nut, same either side. Again, nip it up quite tightly, and as you can see there, that's fixed really quite rigidly in the frame. Next thing I'm going to do is fit the exhaust. Very, very simple. I'm just going to pop the protective bit of paper out there, or a bit of plastic out there that I was protecting the port with. The gasket's already fitted and the nuts and bolts are fitted. Again, seems to be par for the course for this engine is a flat steel washer, a spring washer, and then a nut, either a plain nut or a locking nut. But hey, you know, that's fine by me. Keeps it all the more secure. So the gasket's already on, and the exhaust, if we look over at a pile of bits, okay, the exhaust quite literally slots onto there and bolts up, and it follows the line of the frame down, so it will fit something like that. And there's then a couple of brackets which clamp around there and clamp around the exhaust to hold everything in place. So I'll just get on with that, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. Okay, and we're back, having just put the exhaust on. As you can see, it's very simple fit. Gasket, exhaust flange, plain washer, spring washer, nut. And depending on how that holds together, if that shows any tendencies of vibrating loose, what I'll do is I'll reapply that with a bit of thread lock, magical stuff. You can see the line of that, and it follows the line of the frame really quite nicely. The one problem I've encountered with it at the moment is this retaining strap, anti-vibration strap, or whatever you want to call it, is sized incorrectly for the frame there, and also spaced incorrectly for the frame. I'm not too concerned about that at the moment. So what I shall do is undo these, rebend these and to a suitable shape to actually clamp onto the frame, and using an additional strip of metal I'll just make a crossover piece. And what I'll do is I'll just quickly show you that once I've done it, once I've figured out what I'm going to do, and once I've actually done it, I'll show you that in the next video. I'm going to do the next video separately. Basically I'm going to do these in stages for the simple reason, rather than try and cram the whole thing into one 10-minute video to try and show you the whole build process. It's just going to be awkward. So in the next one I'm actually going to be fitting the carburetor, the throttle cable, and obviously the throttle up on the bars there, and that one may be one on its own. We'll see how that goes, because what I'm going to do is give you some detail about the carburetor, how a carburetor works, the principles, the type of carburetor it is, and what have you. So the idea being, for people who already know this kind of thing and just really want to see the whole thing constructed piece by piece, can just skip the relevant parts that they wish to do so. So yeah, the next one's going to be covering the carburetor, how the whole thing works, what it does, what type of carburetor it is, and what have you, and then obviously the fitment of it. And as I say, I hope to flick back and just show you the modification I've made to that, because I do want to fit it just to make sure it gives it that extra little bit of security and stop it rattling around there. Okay, right, here's a quick view of the bike with the throttle trial fitted. It needs a bit of a clean up on the bar, because the right hand bar's like that one's a bit rusty at the ends there, where the upright clamps used to be. So a bit of clean up with sandpaper, and lubricate the throttles. The kill switch weight there, and the wiring's there to be connected up. It's going to run end earth onto the frame. There's a cycle computer I've just put on there as well, and there's the throttle cable coming down and to the carburetor, which has been trial fitted. Now this is basically just to get an idea of how everything's going to fit. As I've said, in the next video I'm actually going to show you the component parts of the carburetor, the whole workings, how the whole thing goes, how it works, what makes it tick, and then we'll go on with the fitting from there. Following that will be the clutch, and then the fuel tank. Just one more quick thing as well. As pointed out with the exhaust bracket, there's the clamp, which has now been modified a little, and essentially I've straightened out from this upper bend and then rebent it accordingly, and as you can see it doesn't quite wrap around the frame, so I can't bolt it together across the top of the frame. All I'm going to do there, because it wraps and grips quite tightly as it goes, is drill a little hole and pop a self-tapper with a spring washer in either side of there, and that will hold that exhaust nice and firmly. And as you can see there, it actually follows the frame quite nicely down. It's a pretty good fit. And that's where we are at the moment. As I say, I shall go into more detail in the next video about the carburetor and the workings of, and then we'll go ahead and fit that, and then we'll move on with the rest of the bits and pieces. Thanks for watching so far.